Welcome to Puro Pinche Sports. I'm your host, Jose guys, and we are back after a month off, ladies and gentlemen, so we can talk about some sports. Tonight, I am here alongside with the Professor Alex de la Cruz, and also off camera is Chicago's own Arturo de la Cruz. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Arturo Ibarra, bro. What's going on, man? No shit.
Uh,
Got multi-audio here.
hey, what's up, man? It's been a minute.
It's only been a year.
Only a year, man. Hey, kids, man, kids.
Right.
You know how it is.
Yes, sir. Alex, how we doing, man?
Pretty good.
Oh shit,
been-
that's what I mean.
It's been kind of quiet since not having the pod for about a month now.
Hey, sometimes you just need a little break, so we can get back to it, refreshed. I mean, the NFL season's kicking off really well again. The offseason, basketball has been awesome to watch. I mean, a lot of great games, a lot of talent out there. But overall, today we just had some craziness with the NFL, legal tampering starting. And bro, let's just start it off real quick. Kirk Cousins no longer with Minnesota Vikings. He is signed a $180 million deal, 4-year contract with the Atlanta Falcons. He is no longer in y'all's, you Bears fans, division. He's no longer there to annoy you. He is now in the NFC South. That's their problem now. He's arguably the best quarterback in the NFC South. Art, I'm going to go to you, man. What are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins signing with them, and what does this really do for Atlanta's future?
I mean, we saw a lot of production from Kirk with the Vikings. Like he made the tight end, be known. He made the wide receivers. I mean, yeah, again, I know he had JJ and everything, but even with having Addison and JJ and the tight end having. Running back, they didn't really have anyone, but he was able to do stuff with the weapons that he had. So for him to take the money, because he did get a bag. I think I saw a comment the other today that said Kirk Cousins not really, a reliable quarterback or all this stuff that they were saying about Kirk, but during the season, but during the offseason, he's the LeBron James of the NFL. He got that bag. So for him to go to Atlanta, I think that's going to put Kyle Pitts, it's going to put London into that spectrum of relevant players. I mean, they were picked high off on the draft board, so having Kirk is going to really upgrade their game, and I think it's going to help Bijan too, man. If they use him the way they use Cook, it's going to be crazy.
Yo, Alex, I know you've never been a fan of Kirk Cousins, right? You're not a fan of Captain Kirk. You really think he's a little overrated, very inaccurate, very indecisive. I think you had him in your 20s in your NFL ranking before the season started last year. Even though he's been one of the guys that's been very consistent, understandably though, so he does have only one playoff win. But what are your thoughts on Atlanta, like getting Kirk Cousins, and once again he gets another bag, just to continue his career?
So I think it'll be like the same thing, like how Minnesota did, and like looking at it as Atlanta needs to win now, because whenever Kirk got his bag in Minnesota, he had to win now because JJ's time was going to come up to get money. So who are you going to pay, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, that's why they moved down from him. Now Atlanta's doing it. They have to, I think that their time to win is now, because if you don't, you're going to have to get rid of either one of the three big guys, which is Kyle Pitts, Drake London, or Robinson, Bijan.
Yeah.
Because it's like the same thing, like how they did it over there in Minnesota. Like you're gonna have to do something now, or else you're gonna lose one guy.
Yeah.
And that's huge, man. That's a huge ass chunk of your cap. But the one thing though is that division's wide open now, and whenever Kirk was in the NFC, he was really battling with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I think Atlanta did a good job of of not going with Fields, because essentially you don't know what you're getting with him, right? With Kirk,
Okay.
you do see more production during the season. Um, but like I said, hopefully it works out for them. Now we really get to see how those pieces fit with each other. We never really get to see, especially fantasy owners. They hated getting Kyle Pitts because you never saw a lot of production out of him.
Well, we'll
Man,
leave it.
I held on to him on the dynasty draft. I have Pitts, man. I'm excited for that.
Well, that's your problem. You focus too much on the fantasy there. So you don't trust Falcons, bro. You don't trust Atlanta with that shit. Now, for me, man, here's my thing. My only issue. I said it in the text thread that we have. I said that I don't really like it as much because we're talking about a 36-year-old, whatever
Yeah.
he is, mid-30s, and he signed to a 4-year deal. He's coming off an Achilles injury, so I don't even know if he's actually going to start by the beginning of the season, right? Because Achilles is normally a 1-year thing, and what was it? He got hurt in week 6, week 7. So we're talking about right there in the middle. And if he comes back a little too early, you don't want to like push it too much, right? Now this is a Raheem Morris new coaching job. This is the Sean McVay tree now that we're talking about, and so it's going to be a more stylistic, more to what Kirk Cousins will like more. We saw what Matthew Stafford when he got to LA, how much better it got with that scheme. Even though he's been fantastic passer during his time in Detroit. And so I do see a step up there, right? Drake, London, Kyle Pitts, they're all going to have a good time. Bijan as well. Now that he's not going to have to worry about Jonnu Smith taking some runs away from him. The tight end, Jonnu Smith, that's crazy, right? To even say, but hopefully this is a good thing for them. They can take the AFC South. Obviously, they still have Tampa Bay, who is re-signed Mike Evans, who re-signed Baker Mayfield, and we'll see how that goes. But I don't like it for the long term. I like it for the short term, and I think that's kind of why he's getting his money, essentially more or less his money in the first 2 years rather than the back end. Yeah. So that's about it. That's about how much I worry. He has to win now, essentially, for me.
Yep.
But Kirk Cousins is not the guy I trust respectfully. As talented as he is, he's not who I trust to take me far into the playoffs. We can move on to the next one, guys. Saquon Barkley, no longer New York Giant. They didn't even offer him a deal. So he decides, you know what, revenge games, motherfucker. And he signs with the Philadelphia Eagles. 3 years, $26 million fully guaranteed, about $37 million overall during the contract. So about $12-13 million a year. Alex, we love Saquon. He's a great running back when fully healthy, and he's really the reason why Daniel Jones got paid, which is sad because now they don't want Daniel Jones, right? They're looking for a new quarterback already. And after this year, they can get rid of him. What are your thoughts on Saquon joining Philly, and really was it the best interest of Philly to sign Saquon?
I don't think so, because I think the Eagles still have issues to fix on their defense. You did pay a hefty penny for Saquon, especially guaranteed money.
Yeah.
And I was a big advocate of getting Saquon to the Bears, but after I saw that kind of guarantee, I'm like, that's kind of hefty for a guy that has a lot of mileage, right? But you know what you get out of him. You know, he's a hard runner. Sometimes throughout the season, he had his moments.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird because the offensive line there in New York was terrible. And going to Philly now, you don't have a center who you don't have your Hall of Famer center there anymore who calls protections, that yells it out, and running backs need to pick up the free guy or the mic or the outside corner that's blitzing. So it's like little things like that. It's plays a big role. It should be pretty cool though, because they do have a lot of. Just that I don't think Philly hit the nail on the head with this one, because they do need more on the defensive side.
Yeah, just they're never afraid to really like go for what they want. But I agree with you, Alex, especially how they fell off last year. The linebacking core, the corners, the safeties, they really need to adapt to that. How do you feel, Art? I mean, we know how great they can be with these weapons, right? An AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, now Saquon Barkley. That's great and all. Eventually, you gotta pay Devontae Smith, and then your defense is not getting any better. They're getting more guys on the line, but that wasn't their issue last year. It's a secondary. So, what are your thoughts, Art?
I mean, I think going into this free agency, right, there were like some big names out there that people wanted to sign in. I think one of them was Saquon. The other one was Jacobs. I think if you had to choose over those two or paying Swift again, I mean, yes, Swift did his work last year. You know, he was able to push some of the pile, cut in between the tackles. He was able to read those. I think Saquon's better at that. And, you know, to Alex's point, I believe he's a harder runner. So I think when it comes to maybe picking up that extra man that comes at blitzing or the edge, I think Saquon might be better at that. Now, for them, the money wise, yes, I can see how that's going to be an issue future wise. But man, that signing and then coming back and signing Bryce Huff, like I think those two were like, okay, you knew what you needed to do. So like you went at it and you got your two big names that were going to help you at both sides of the ball. So for me, I don't think the Saquon Barkley one is a bad deal. And yet again, I think the Josh Jacobs to the Packers was a great addition too. So I like the fact that Saquon's in Philly.
I mean, I like Saquon that he got his money, right? I think wherever he went, he should have gotten his money. My issue is though, like you could get Swift on a cheaper deal, and Swift was honestly, when used correctly, because that's the problem with the offensive line or the offensive scheme last year, is that when he wasn't used, they sucked, and that was big. That was a big detriment to their losing streak and to their second half woes, is that they weren't using the running game as much. Swift, when you count the numbers that he was racking up the first 10 weeks of the season, first 11 weeks, like that's a guy who deserves to still be an RB1. And if you can save about $4 million a year on him, why don't you do that? I guess Saquon is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I honestly had him pegged more for like the Texans or I know there was talks possibly for him in Chicago. I don't really see that as realistically, because I think Chicago needs to find other things to worry about first before they go on big onto the running back, which I think that they settled with Swift, and that's what they did, right? But overall, I think Philly made the mistake paying that extra money that could have gone elsewhere. Linebackers, man, they're tough to find these days. Like, there's not many big bodies that could run like that, and yeah, they could make it maybe a trade for like, I don't know what's a good linebacker out there right now. Alex, what are you talking about? Are you one of the Charger boys? You know, Bosa is not really a linebacker, but
I mean, there's names like Patrick Queen, but like Patrick Queen right now still hasn't got a deal done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you would probably have to give up a lot of money for that. But I think that's the type of player you do give a bag to, because like you said, finding a linebacker that goes sideline to sideline is really hard to find in the NFL, and you could see like running backs you could draft in the later rounds, and you might find a diamond, right?
Yeah.
And at linebacker, it's rare that you find one that plays hard like that, or they're really hard to come by. So yeah, I would pay a linebacker over a running back any day.
Do you think it would have mattered if it was not the contract wasn't as big of a money issue, like in the sense of like him getting most of the part now? Like if it was spread out with more incentives, do you think that would have been better?
Yeah, I think if
because I agree with that.
The contract
I think
was more towards the end of the end, like his money was more towards the end, then I wouldn't. I don't think it's a huge issue, because essentially you're trying to get the best couple years out of him in the first year, 2 years, and then the second one you could cut maybe.
I mean, he's gone after 2 years. That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's because he's fully guaranteed for the first 2 years, and I think he's gone after that. Because obviously he's going to be a lot older and more beat up, especially with I haven't made the rule change right about the tush push or anything like that. I'm not saying that that's what they're going to go with, but that scheme of theirs, and it's Kellen Moore. We got to remember, it's Kellen Moore's offense now. That's who's the OC over there. And that's not, I mean, it's not who I'm fully trusting, right? Because that's not really part of his game, right? We saw with the Chargers that they didn't really rely with the running game, and that's kind of the reason why Mike McCarthy let him go, right? Because he was worried about too much about getting Dak's passing numbers up instead of running the ball more, which overall they still submitted to end up doing that because the running game sucked in Dallas, but that's either here or there. I just don't think with Kellen Moore and Saquon pairing, I think that's a fair fit. You get me? That's where I think that's more my issue there. But it is what it is. I mean, Saquon got his money. He got his deal. Good for him. That's probably going to be his only big bag, really. But let's talk about what Art just brought up. Josh Jacobs signs to the Packers. A.J. Dillon walks because of a free agent. Aaron Jones is let go. They didn't even I don't even think they bothered to try to reconstruct his contract. They just said, you know what?
Thank God.
It's better to let him go because
he
fucked y'all up. That's the real when he's around, he fucked y'all up. The Bears were scared.
Whenever we played in week 1, right? I was like, you had to really watch the game. When if you see the numbers, it's gonna say Jordan Love killed us. No, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones killed us with a bunch of screens, like 2-yard screens that would have bust for like 60 yards, bro. Yeah. And then he got hurt right in the middle. I think in the middle of the year, and then
he still came back and
then he still fucking came back. Yeah, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He comes back.
They don't win that first game against Dallas without Aaron Jones in there. I'm not trying to disrespect Jordan Love, right? It's a good, impressive first year, right? Because this is coming off a bad Aaron Rodgers final year in Green Bay and stuff like that. He wasn't terrible. But I think people are quick to forget that there was a middle gap in the season where he was just awful. Like between weeks 2 to 9 and stuff like that. Like that was really bad. Then he picked it up in the second half,
who was playing whenever he started picking up? Aaron Jones started coming back in the lineup.
Yep,
and it's crazy because man, dude, I'm happy that the Packers did that in a way because I'm we're Bears fans, but then you're also you're scratching your head. Why the fuck would they do that and bring Josh Jacobs? Because Josh Jacobs is not a pass catcher like Aaron Jones, and then they had a bruiser in A.J. Dillon. I know. I mean, yes, you have to look at.
So A.J. they can still bring back because he's a free agent. I'm just want to throw that out there. They can still bring him back,
but I don't think he's gonna want to be an RB2 again. I think he's gonna try to look for. I think he's a RB1 in the league. He really is, and he's gonna.
So I had that conversation with someone today. That same conversation about AJ Dillon being an RB1, RB2, and he's a Packers fan. And he said AJ Dillon is nothing but an RB2 anywhere else.
No, I find that false.
Coming from a Packers fan, man, and I was like, I don't know, man. To me, Dillon, I think one of the weaknesses is that he doesn't really read that line well. He doesn't know where the gap is. And he's just a bruiser back, just like you said. Jacobs, I don't know, man. It's a good signing I think. He gets the money, he gets a new change of scenery, but yet again, is he Aaron Jones? I don't think so.
Well, he's not Aaron Jones, but he was the leading rusher just 2 seasons ago. And then last year, again, bad play by Josh McDaniels, just not, good coaching, establishing for him. His numbers went down because of his contract. He wanted, it's so crazy. We're talking about a year ago when running backs were so devalued, and this year, nothing but running backs are getting picked up. Nothing. They're all getting paid. They're all getting money. Eckler, fucking Josh Jacobs, Saquon. Everyone's getting their money now. But last year was no, we don't like any of y'all. So I mean,
I think last year was just who was on the draft board. I mean, you had some. I think last year the draft class had a lot of running backs. So I think last year and the year before that you could have found a running back in the later rounds. This year, from what I've seen, there's not a lot of running backs that are
that's true.
Typical.
Not everyone's gonna find an Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round, right? Not everyone's gonna have a golden opportunity at Bijan right away. Damian Pierce, Damian Pierce is booty cheeks now.
Yeah, but then he was what, a 4th, 5th round, and he was great. I mean, what I'm saying, yeah, but look, what I'm saying, it's like back then, like they were finding those diamonds in the rough. I think this year it's going to be I think it's wide receiver stacked and it's QB stacked this year. So they're like, you know what, might as well pay for a free agent this year. See what they have left on the tank, and they have the experience on it. So,
what are y'all thoughts on the fact that not only did they get Josh Jacobs, but they let go of Bakhtiari, who has been really injury plagued the last few years, and then they also signed Xavier McKinney, right? So they're really like stacking up the deck here to like really push this like, I don't want to say narrative, but this like golden opportunity they think they have, that they have their new Rodgers, a new Brett Favre, right? How do you feel about Green Bay's chances? Because low key, they could come back and win the division next year. Just saying, low key.
They
they are building the team like how they build, like with Aaron Rodgers. They built the defense. I said last year that the defense has 7 first-rounders on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
And you could like just like add another receiver, maybe a vet in that locker room, because they're really young to complement.
Man, the thing about the Packers, now that you say young, they have a shit ton of crazy young, talented wide receivers. Mm-hmm. The way they were being used last year, I think that really helped and made Love shine. They weren't going for the big deep throws. They were going, like for the quick little slants, quick slots. So for me, I think that was great.
Well, I think the deep throw issue was that Christian Watson was hurt a lot. So he wasn't like, he's your deep threat. So when he's not around, like you don't really got that opportunity. Don't get me wrong, Jaden Reed and
Dubs
and Romeo Dubs like were fantastic on their route running. But as far as a deep threat, if you have Christian Watson in there, that's your guy. I know Alex is not a big fan of his, but I mean that's his one specialty he does have. That I like. Not like he's like
he's a Gabriel Davis.
He's a great value version of like Jamar Chase, right? Like he could beat you 1-on-1 in my opinion, but he's the great value version.
He's just a Gabriel Davis. That's the way I see it.
Oh, am I wrong, Alex? Is that a great value?
He's I think he's bigger. He might be a little bit bigger than any of those receivers.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, what stands out is that his size. He's a big receiver.
That's what I'm saying. And, he's like Chase. He likes to like give me that 1-on-1 and I'll beat the hands. Yeah. That's what. So Gabe Davis, we can move it. Any final thoughts on Green Bay? We can go actually onto Gabe Davis. Any final thoughts?
It's going to be an interesting season next year without Kirk there, with some of the additions, without Aaron Jones, with some additions at Green Bay.
Are y'all finding the Packers?
Dude, I guess we'll have to figure out. They'll have to figure out what the hell they're doing in Chicago, man. They should have sold. I mean, if you weren't going with Fields, you should have given them out. Now you're stuck, so you're gonna get pennies.
Yeah. What's it called? So Gabe Davis is now signed a 3-year deal with Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo Bills are rejoicing this loss. I mean, we know that Buffalo lost a lot of players last week. They dropped a lot of players because they're so under the salary cap right now due to that Von Miller contract. But now Gabe Davis is the newest toy for Trevor Lawrence. We saw
one.
I think Christian Kirk is still wide receiver 1 there. Gabe Davis is not a wide receiver 1 anywhere, not even in Madden or anything like that. So, Alex, what are your thoughts on Gabe Davis signing over in Jacksonville? And upgrade, downgrade, equal to what Calvin Ridley's production last year? How do you grade that one?
I think it's like equal, honestly. A lot of hate went to Calvin Ridley because of his drops, but I still thought that Trevor Lawrence didn't have a great year.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think you let him go by, like, you do this as a sign. It's like you have your quarterback's back over a receiver you just brought in.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much an experience, right? Like you brought in Kevin Ridley, and he was suspended. You already knew he was going to be suspended, and it didn't work out. You get him. I would say it's the same, but Gabriel Davis has been um, having good numbers, so it's to me it's equal, right?
Yeah.
But you do give Trevor Lawrence like, oh, okay, they have my back. They let him go. They gave me another toy to work with. Let's see what we got here.
I've been
It's,
telling everybody that I think the biggest issue was that the one they couldn't figure out the offensive scheme, Doug Peterson, the OC, and that's what it made everything look so bad because they started out great, right? Their O line sucked ass though, right? They were bottom of the league still, regardless. And Calvin really, after week 2, after the Kansas City Chiefs game, really went quiet as far as really being productive, winning his route running matchups, dropping a lot of passes in the end zone. And if obviously it's going to fall onto both him and Trevor Lawrence, like the chemistry never really got there. There was only certain games in the back half of the season where they're trying to salvage their season, but by then it's too late. I think it's okay move. It's not like he's a super expensive player they're paying, right? I think it's about 39 mil, 13 million a year. So it's not that big of a deal. But this is also like because of where we're at right now, and he hasn't gotten paid. This is also giving a time clock for Trevor Lawrence to do something, right? Because now CJ Stroud is in your division. Anthony Richardson is going to get a shot to like really outshine with this Indianapolis Colts because we saw them so close to winning division themselves, the Colts, before they Minshew fucking dinked it to the ground. But we'll see, man. Trevor Lawrence has now got a quarterback controversy with Mac Jones over there. We know Mac Jones is about to win that quarterback job. I'm fucking kidding. But it is interesting, though, that they did trade for Mac Jones, right? It's like when you have a backup, you normally get a guy that is going to be kind of like a vet, kind of like he can advise you what you see in the field and stuff like that. And Jones wants the starting job, but obviously he's lost all credibility, all respect. He's hit his ceiling in year 1. But to be fair, too, like he didn't have exactly the best coaching staff with Bill Belichick giving him Matt Patricia and then Bill O'Brien the next few years. So, and the weapons were just awful, right? Like we had the Patriots had 3 of the bottom 10 receivers that could not get separation, and Juju, Devontae Parker, and Mike Gesicki. So we'll see how Jacksonville does over there. Gabe Davis is all right. I mean, Buffalo's probably happy, but this also leaves a question. Buffalo, are you going to keep Stephon Diggs? And if you don't keep Stephon Diggs and you end up trading him, what do you got? So any thoughts on that, fellas?
That's going to be interesting, though, for sure, though, because they did re-sign Trubisky, which is, to me, it's like, all right, you worked under that scheme. You were okay. You signed and re-signed, some items on your defense and your offense line. But your wide receivers, man, like who do you have? Shakir, and then Kincaid, Knox, and then Diggs. And Diggs hasn't really been doing much because of either double coverage or he's just not winning his routes or you're just not getting target. Yes, they have James Cooks and everything, but who's your wide receiver too? It's not like you're going to get Higgins. It's not like they're going to trade for Higgins. And Calvin Ridley?
They don't have the money for it. So that's the problem. They're going to have to work through the draft, honestly, because that's the issue, right? Because the reason they're letting go all these guys is because they don't have the money. So they're not going to get Calvin Ridley. So, like, Buffalo is, I think they're reconstructing some contracts and hoping that they can get something. But there's not much for them to get, to be honest with you. So Josh Allen is talented enough to win a division. We saw that happen last year. Miami, by the way, is dying. If you don't believe me, ask Christian Wilkins over in Las Vegas. Who else did they lose, Alex? So, it was like 2 guards. They've lost like multiple like O linemen. So they have.
I think
falling
Christian
apart.
Christian was a big loss, and the Raiders. If the Raiders could keep Max Crosby, I don't think they're going to trade him. That's a huge win and a huge loss for Miami. And they still have Vic, right? Or they don't?
Who?
Miami.
No, he's in Philly now.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, man, they're trying to change the whole culture now. It's kind of crazy, man, that they did that.
They've lost so many pieces today, and it's just honestly like they're probably day one's losers. Honestly, like with everything, and they still have to go pay Tua because is he not a free agent? Am I tripping? Is his 5 years not up? That was his 5th year, no, or was it 4th year? They got to pay him.
I don't know. Let me look. I mean, they have Chase Claypool.
Oh my god! Yeah, everyone that's had Chase Claypool has failed. Y'all know
Chase
that.
Claypool, and they have Robbie Anderson. I mean, it's not Robbie Anderson
Chosen?
anymore. Robbie Chosen.
Anderson.
So
let me see.
Yeah, Tyreek.
So like if the Chargers move on from those contracts and cut them, that Miami scheme would be good for Khalil Mack and Joey. That's if they want to win. That's a team that like essentially could win now, right?
Yeah.
With that roster they have on the offense, and those 2 guys fit perfect for that scheme. So even if you just get one of them, I think Khalil's a little bit better than Joey though.
Okay, so I'm trying to look at the names they lost. They also lost. They dropped Xavier Howard, and they lost.
He's in his 5th year option.
This year's his 5th year option.
Yep.
Fuck. They gave up on Emmanuel Agba. They lost Andrew Van Ginkel. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And there was another one. Who is it? I'm thinking like the name Hunt. What the fuck is his first name? I'm tripping here so much right now, guys. I'm sorry. But they lost a lot of key pieces that I just don't like. You know how I had Miami win the division last year? They're not even in the playoffs. Like Alex, you say like there's an average of like 6 teams that drop the playoffs and shit like that. They're one of them, like instantly. But there's just no way, especially now we're gonna get a healthy
Robert
Hunt, thank you. Now we're gonna have a healthy Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. We'll see about the Chargers thing. I think they're still a year away before they can really come back to be a threat because they have to unload some of those contracts. I know some people are like, oh, well, they just dropped 2 people and that's it. No, there's so much like fundamentally like coaching they have to redo for these guys because Brandon Staley was just so bad.
I think that team is honestly 3 years out because Jim has to bring in his own guys. I don't think they keep Keenan Allen, honestly. Not this, maybe this year, but like
not long term, not
long term at all. And even Mike Williams, there's
Mike
a lot
Williams,
of like
he's gone.
This team's gonna look totally brand new in 2 years. Watch, it's a way different team.
If I know it's early, but I know how much you love Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. Do you go draft Malik Neighbors? Or do you draft Rome Dunze?
Neighbors. Oh, Dunze won't fall unless you trade up.
So what pick do they got? They got
They have 6. No, 5. They have 5. So they're gonna get one of those 2.
I don't think they go receiver, honestly. I think they go
really
the way Jim has. Yeah, I think the way Jim has always ran his teams. I think they go Joe from Notre Dame. That's because he loves to run the ball. He loves to go under center a lot, and I think that's more of you could, like I said, you can probably get a receiver the following year. I think Joe's is like one of those All-American linemen, like what's his name? The one that they picked, the one from the Colts. He played for Notre Dame also. Quentin Nelson.
Yeah.
Like one of those guys.
Well, they are losing is it Gordon Lindsay through a heart infection that he's not going to come back for. You still have Sean Slater. So yeah, I mean, you pick up an O lineman, you really go keep going. Obviously, your running back situation. I guess you go, Joshua Kelly one more year. I mean, yes, he could jump that spot into RB1 now that Austin Eckler's gone. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, I don't think Justin Herbert can save them right now, right away. I say 1 year just to be like nice. Right, Alex? Because you know how I feel about Justin Herbert getting too much love without been there just yet, right? Like, I get it. He has the talent. He's just get there, motherfucker. I mean, you got the talent. Get there. That's all I ask. And I understand the situation with them last year. Any other right now free agents moves that moved you that I'm not thinking about right now on top of my head?
So I know we were talking about the Dolphins, right? So
Okay.
They lost.
Yes, sir.
7 people. Yeah, they lost 7 people on their side of and they still have to pay Tua. So yeah, I don't think they're gonna do anything this year.
So one pickup I really like was Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Here's why he is super cheap. They basically got him for pennies, and the whole like the Pittsburgh wasn't going to be in position to get a quarterback this year unless they traded up.
Yeah,
right. Unless you're gonna settle for a quarterback for the future. Well, like how they did for Kenny Pickett, they basically they settled for him, right? Because he was there at the moment. And if they would have got a quarterback this year in this draft, that's essentially what would have happened again. You restart the clock just over again. Russell Wilson had the same numbers he had whenever he was with the Seahawks, and they went to the Super Bowl and won it. I don't think he's washed at all. He's still playing at the same level he's always have in Seattle. Just people now don't see it as much is because when he was in Seattle, he had a great defense, right? So like he's doing the same thing. Like the numbers are the same, essentially the same. And you saw it more in Denver because the Sean Payton deal. They traded a lot for those two guys, so that's why that's why a lot of people zoomed in a lot on Russell Wilson this year. Like he's playing bad, the team is bad. I actually don't think Russell Wilson played terrible. I think he played like at least the top 15 quarterback is this year.
This year or last year? This year coming up?
Well, this year, like I think he did play like a top quarterback, even though like people say like his numbers. I'm like, bro, he had the same numbers he had when he was in the Super Bowl. Like whenever he was in the Super Bowl, he hasn't been playing wrong like that. I mean,
no. Here's my issue. It's just so I don't know if you feel the same way, Art, but I think his numbers don't match what actually like went down. Yeah, if you get what I mean. I know stats are stats, right? But like he was in decision makings and obviously Jerry did not help and stuff like that. It just looked awful. Right? Like even the game, right? The big ones that everyone wants to talk about. Oh my God, he upset the Chiefs. They finally get a win after like 10 years almost. And oh my God, they beat the Bills. Well, the Bills one was a bad 12-man penalty that led them to get an extra kick to win it. And then the Chiefs won. Well, he threw for 100 and something yards, and got the 3 touchdowns. It really wasn't like Russ and stuff like that. It was just like his biggest wins are not really because of Russ. And that's kind of like the major thing. Like, I get what you're saying, Alex. Like, he played all right. He didn't really play to lose, even though they did lose a lot. There was more on the defensive side. Obviously, like they gave up 70 points. They wasn't Russ who gave up 70 points. But he's not the guy I trust. Like, I'm glad he's getting the $1.2 million deal because he's not worth more like what he thinks he is, right? He's not worth the $40 million Daniel Jones gets. He's not worth the 45 Kirk Cousins get. I don't even think right now he's good enough to get the 33 mils that Baker Mayfield's getting. I think he really needs to like get his confidence back up because I feel the second he stepped onto the field in Denver, or actually the second he stepped on the field in Seattle, week 1 against them in a Denver Broncos uniform, he has lost every bit of confidence that he had. Nathaniel Hackett was a horrible head coach. Sean Payton, even though Russ wanted Sean Payton originally, Sean Payton didn't want him. And it was proven by the multiple times we've seen him yell and degrade Russ publicly, whether it was on the field or to the news reporters. And it was just this Russ really the guy that we're going to trust? Like the only reason I agree that it's an upgrade, that this is going to be better than Kenny Pickett, is because Kenny Pickett's only thrown 13 passing touchdowns and it's 2 years in the freaking league. So anything at this point is an upgrade. Jameis Winston would have been an upgrade, and missed a 30 for 30. So
you think if Russ played on the team last year, I think the Steelers do make the playoffs.
Well, they made the playoffs even last year with Mason Rudolph, with Mitch Trubisky.
Well, actually make like a team that would that you would actually fear. You know what I mean?
No,
I think if Russ was with the Steelers last year, I think some of those weapons would have been used better.
A lot more, yeah.
I don't think that they're contenders right off the bat, but I think some of those weapons would have been targeted better though. Like there was shitty throws by Pickett on the end zone, dude. Like you had Deontay right open, you had Pickens. Like Pickens was making some absurd catches. There's no need for a receiver to be making those catches though. Like you should just be able to catch the ball easy peasy though.
That's what he is. Great. Dave Davis is a great value George Pickens. That's what he is. It's not Jamar Chase. It's George Pickens.
So for me, I mean, I think it is an upgrade from Pickett. Just the situation in Denver, man, it just went to shit right off the bat.
It's a B plus. It's a B plus pickup for
for the contract
because
for the contract.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're basically not taking a gamble in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a gamble at all.
So my biggest fear, Alex, also is that okay, so I don't know how much y'all I love to look into sometimes like the OCs and all this stuff and like what makes a quarterback OC tick, right? Do you know that since he left Seattle, he hasn't, technically he hasn't played anyone that hasn't had Dave Canales as their OC has not played well. So, for example, Russ had Dave Canales in Seattle. He goes next year. Nathaniel Hackett's awful. Sean Payton improves it, doesn't fix it. Geno Smith has Dave Canales, loses him they lose him to Tampa. Then the next year, Geno's not as precise or as good as he was the year before. This year, Baker Mayfield was looking good with Dave Canales. Now Dave Canales is the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So Dave Canales might save Bryce Young's career, but is Baker set up to fail? So my point in all that is that Russ, yes, you're saying that his numbers have looked equal to what he did in Seattle. Yes, because he had someone that understood his mechanisms. Like I know some people in our text thread were saying, oh, well, he will look good in Minnesota. No, he wouldn't. Because the best things about Pickens and Deontay Johnson is they can go anywhere, but their primary focus is running, straight forward across, those stripes and lines. Addison and Jefferson, they like to go slant. They like to go deep. They like to go all these things. And Russ still can't throw in the middle. What is he, 5'10"? He's still 5'11". He still can't pass through the middle this whole time. And that's one of the biggest things, right? Cortland Sutton can go forward. Jerry Jeudy likes to slant. He can't get to Jerry Jeudy. He can't get to the tight ends. So that's what I like the placement. I think this is the better team versus the Minnesota Vikings. But Russ still has limitations, and he's only getting older. So, yes, it's a B+, whatever you want to grade it, because it's a $1.2 million deal. He's still getting paid $38 million from Denver. But he's not the guy he was back then when he had a Dave Canales, when he had that system in check with Pete Carroll and all them, mind you, right? So Can they make the playoffs? Yes. Can they keep Mike Tomlin's 500 plus win streak going? Sure, because they did that last year with the scum that they had before. So this is a little better quarterback, but he's just a band-aid to the bigger problem that they have in Pittsburgh. And again, we're going back to Joe Burrow will be healthier. Lamar Jackson's still in your division. Cleveland just traded for Jerry Jeudy, and if they can somehow save his career, which I don't think they will, and they need to also save Deshaun Watson's career, or Joe Flacco might come back in and save them once again. So once again, they're in a tight pack. And
I think that division is so hard. It's so hard, and it's crazy that you say like Joe Burrow will be back. But even when Joe Burrow was playing a full healthy season, the Steelers still had like the Steelers were still like the top team in that division as far as like wins over the division opponents. Like
okay. I was like, they went to like overall. Like, okay.
Yeah, because last year I like Joe. I think he played one against the Steelers, but the Steelers went 5-1 in their division last year.
Yeah, they beat the Ravens twice. One of them was like a week 18 matchup that didn't matter. So, but I know they also have the Ravens number. So, yes, division wise, they can like do their thing, right? But that doesn't matter when you overall have to play against other teams, right? You have 6 games against your division and 11 games against everyone else. Do you trust Russ enough at 1.2 mil? Sure. For the future, long term, no. And we know that George Pickens is still a diva. Deontay Johnson is probably looking to get out. Najee Harris is not as great as he was his rookie year. Jalen Warren's kind of picked up the slack for that. So it's like,
yeah, the running game needs to pick up a lot. They didn't help Kenny Pickett whatsoever that the running game wasn't being used at all. Or even if that, Najee Harris didn't look like himself.
They just weren't able to move the ball. I mean, that O-line it looked good at the beginning, and then coming into the season, they just didn't. It was just they started crumbling down.
Chris Jones re-signs for an extensive 5-year contract, I believe.
Yep.
One of the highest paid defensive players in the league. Obviously, they keep that core of Kelsey, Jones, Mahomes, and Andy Reid, obviously, at the helm. Are we seriously looking at a 3-peat with the Kansas City Chiefs, Art?
If they're able to do it, sure, why not? I think Rice is a great young wide receiver. To me, is they still need that deep threat. I don't think they found that, and they don't have that. I know they tagged Snead, so that they're keeping him.
They're not. Since he's allowed to look for a trade, I don't think they're going to be able to keep him.
I mean, if you tagged him, he doesn't find a trade partner, then they'll keep him. For right now. I think the main concern was Chris Jones. That was their big one. So the fact that they were able to retain him, that's great. I think Pacheco's great. He's able to move the ball. And I think one of the comments that I've always had was defenses were going to figure out Mahomes. If Mahomes was going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again, like they were going to be able to read him and pick him out. And that's what happened that year that they didn't go to the Super Bowl. Now that they're able to implement that running game, they're able to move the ball at both levels of the field. Now they just need that third threat, which was what Hill used to do. So I think if they were able, or they're able to find that one receiver that's going to be their deep threat, whether they're similar, like Gabe Davis or whatever, maybe they'll sign Calvin Ridley. To me, I think that's going to be the key for them to make it far, all the way for that three-peat. I think right now they'll get to that, but some of these other teams are making real good acquisitions to, stop them. And a lot of these pieces moving today were defensive players. Yeah. So, I mean, yet again, I know we're always saying, like they'll figure Mahomes out and everything, but Andy Reid is a great coach. He's able to move the ball around whenever they need to, and he's able to help Mahomes. I think at the end of the day, it's just him. It's Andy. Andy and Mahomes is able to listen to, Yes, I know. Matt Nagy's there, and he's the quarterbacks coach, and he helps him out. But man, you've seen on that sideline, he just tells Nagy, I ain't doing that shit. Like, good, you're great, you're QB coach and everything, keep me up to date. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what I believe is best for this offense. And I think they should go for that three-peat. I think they have the weapons, and if they find that deep threat, hey, that's going to be a scary team to deal with, especially because they've been able to figure out that end of the defensive ball. I know Marco had been talking about that. They couldn't figure out the defensive end, and they finally did. So they were able to stop the Niners, and they were able to stop some of the bigger threat playmakers. So
Yeah. Alex, I know over a month ago, a few episodes ago, you discussed with Marco, y'all agreed that you believe it was better in the Chiefs' best interest to keep Snead over Jones. I don't believe they can keep both, and I do believe Snead will find a trading partner to get out of there because he's yet to get paid, and that's kind of his main priority is to get paid. Do you believe that this is a mistake on the Chiefs' part to go ahead and continue with Chris Jones?
It's kind of tough to say, man, because when Chris Jones didn't play against Detroit week 1, it showed, right? And Snake did play, and they ended up losing. But man, it's really tough. It's a really tough decision to make. One thing looking back with Andy Reid's teams, any guy that he franchise tags, I think there's only been a history of 3 guys that get franchised that they usually find a team to trade to. Right? Yeah. And two of those guys were coached by Andy Reid. I don't think they sign him at all. I don't think he signs the franchise tag, and I think they do move on from him. Is it going to be a mistake? It's kind of tough to say, man, because to say a mistake over if you let go of a 2-time Super Bowl champion and
3-time, no, Chris Jones is 3-time now.
Oh, is he 3-time?
Yeah, he was there for the first one. Yeah, he was there for the first one.
And probably being the second best defensive tackle or defense in the league behind maybe Aaron Donald, or maybe some say he's better than Aaron Donald right now.
Well, I think Aaron Donald today, is not in that same that he was then.
So what do you think he ends? That's the interesting. Who do you think trades for him though? Who do you think is able and willing to pay for
somebody him? That I think the Commanders they have money to pay him.
Patriots it's real tough if they wanted to, but I don't think they will. I would. I told Alex before we got on. I would love if the Patriots do it because I don't think he cares for the ring so much. But I don't know if they're willing to give him like what $25 million a year. I think that's what he kind of wants right now. So,
what do you think is harder to find? A cornerback that's all pro or defensive lineman that's an all pro?
Well, I think right now we're seeing it right now with all the moves is that it's a defensive back like that. And here's the thing, like he got snubbed, right? He wasn't even an all pro. He should have been an all pro. He should have been first team.
Yeah. Should have been. He should have been.
So right now the leftover ones is Armstead, Stewart, Reeder, Campbell, Tart, and Jones.
Sorry about the defensive tackles.
At the defensive line.
Yeah, because a lot of them already got picked up, right? Like
Chris Jones, Wilkins, Leonard Williams already picked up. Danico Autry picked up by Houston. So
a lot of those guys have already been picked up. I think it's harder to get a defensive back right now. Look at like if Philly had actually focused on trying to somehow get Snead, which I know like Marco would say they would never trade with Philly. That's not true. You do business with business. If they had focused on Snead over Saquon, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right?
That was their main issue last year.
Yeah, because you're not going to trust Bradbury. You're not going to trust Slay. Old man Slay.
That's why that's why Ryan Poles did what he did with Jalen Johnson. He gave him a pretty good deal at the beginning, like mostly all of it paid in the first couple of years instead of the back end. A lot of people were saying, well, why the hell would he sign it if his franchise tag was going to be more in that 1 year? than he was gonna make in
two
the
or three.
first. Yeah, and I
Big,
think
big,
it's all
big
loaded.
quarterback news, fellas. Big quarterback news. The Jets have found their backup, Tyrell Taylor. All right,
I was gonna say Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson decided to stay.
No, he's getting traded. But go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry. Just wanted to fucking dig a joke.
No, yeah, it's like I said that Ryan Poles knows that it's really hard to find a really good corner in the league. Because they're playing every single play at defense, and if you're playing defensive line, you're coming in and out. You play maybe 40, 60 snaps. No, not even. I don't even think 60. I think 40 snaps is a lot of snaps for a DT. At corner, you're never coming out unless you get hurt. But DTs are always rotating. DNs are always rotating.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like Javon Kinlaw just got signed
harder.
by the Jets themselves, so he leaves the Niners and goes to the Jets. Speaking of a big move today, guys, probably the biggest trade today was Brian Burns traded from the Carolina Panthers to the New York Giants for a 2nd and 5th round pick, and he gets his 5-year extension. Alex, you love Brian Burns. You have been slathering all over this man for the last year, and rightfully so. He's one of the best linebackers out there. He gets his deal, and Carolina misses out on 2 first-round picks he could have gotten from the Rams a year and a half ago. And so now they have to settle for a 2nd and a 5th round. So they're the real losers in that one, in my opinion. But overall, what are you thinking about Brian Burns over to the Giants? They beef up their defense some more.
Yeah, you pair him up with Lawrence, right?
Yeah, Sexy Dexy, as James likes to say.
And that Giants defense over the years, like going back to the Michael Strahan days, they've always found ways to give big pass rushers right in that team. And now that a pass rusher is gonna be able to get to the quarterback with a 4-man front and only sending 4 inside to, I guess, not really blitzing as much, because that team looks really scary up front. But the Giants do have a lot of work to do on the offensive side, but defensive wise, that's a great pickup. The only thing that's scary is that essentially with these guys, that whenever they get to big contracts, especially DNs, they're usually not that productive, right? That's one thing that's probably like, damn, I hope he could live up to the expectation, especially Burns, because I would hate for him to have a bad year, and I was really big on the Bears getting him instead of DJ Moore, or even getting the both. But I knew Carolina was never going to give up Burns.
They should have, because look at the deal they got now. They could have sent him to the Rams. Imagine the Rams last year with Brian Burns, especially with the surprise that they became with Puka and Cooper Kupp coming back and Matthew Stafford coming back healthy as well. And Kyron Williams was a fucking beast and running back. Like, if you add Brian Burns to the defensive side, that was one of their weaknesses, was the linebacker, that secondary out there, the back 7. And Panthers, who had lost their first this year, could have used the Rams first. They could have had something. Now they have nothing. So, Alex, you good? You falling apart over there? What's going on?
My shoes fell.
Okay. I was making sure you're good, brother. But I mean, all right, what are you thinking? I mean, I saw you shake your head like you kind of didn't like the move. What's going in your mind, bro?
Carolina sucks, man.
Always has.
Like we talked about it, you talked about the offensive coach being able to, save some of the careers for the QBs. I think a big issue that I see with the QBs not being, working to their full potential is the fact that you're putting so much pressure on your QB to put 30, 40 plus points, to keep up in a game. Like, you need both ends of the ball. If your O-line doesn't help you protect your QB, man, your QB is going to get hit over and over again. And then at the same time on your O-line, on your D-line, if your defensive line is not able to make the stops, man, you're going to have your QB out there playing more snaps than he should be. So, I mean, I think the move to the Giants, man, like whether Daniel Jones, and I think that was the issue with the Giants last year. Like you were expecting so much of Daniel Jones. Now you're bringing some help in. So you're not going to have him on that side of the ball as much. Like, yes, you are going to be getting the ball back, but you're not expecting for your quarterback to be the winner of that game. And then on 2-minute drills, man, like I think that's going to be a big one. You're able to stop the ball, which in my perspective, like the fact, like if I use the Bears as an example, like the fact that they're purchasing and buying some of those defensive weapons or retaining some of those guys there, like you're helping your quarterback situation and you're not expecting so much out of that. You're also keeping them fresh. So whether it's Bryce Young, man, and they're able to help his career, man, I think at the end of the day, you have to have signs on both sides of the ball, man. You can't just be a one trick pony. So I like the move. I like the move from the Giants. I don't like it from the Carolina at all, man. Like they gave up a lot this year, man.
So I agree. I mean, we're seeing that Chicago has the number 1 pick and it should have been the Panthers. I mean, really, like if you don't make the silly mistakes like that, or you don't have the security to have another first round pick the next year, why are you giving up yours for one guy and then you don't even get the guy you really want? You get the guy what the owner wants, right? It's like, which again, CJ Stroud probably doesn't change as much as what happens still even if he did go over there, but still, like, it's crazy. What I did want to say was, there's still a chance to save Daniel Jones, right? As far as like, well, you signed him, you extended him, you have a chance still to like save him. Now, you get Singletary from Houston to replace Saquon. It's not equal value, but whatever. You save money. It is what it is. But your wide receivers are the worst in the league, right? You don't have anybody that really you really trust in New York. Like your wide receivers are bad, right? So this is a situation where you had the number 6 pick. Last time you had the number 6 pick, you picked Daniel Jones. Hey, how about this time you go get Neighbors or Rome if they're available in that pick? You need a wide receiver. Next thing up, you go ahead, and I'm thinking on top of my head right now, go get a wide receiver in free agency. If it's Calvin Ridley, go for it. If it's someone else that's more available or cheaper, cool. But get somebody and get separation. Get someone out there that can really give you the best chance to like, hey, Daniel Jones, we actually went ahead and built some weapons around you. We don't know if Darren Waller is going to retire, but if he's still here and we got you Singletary for a running game still, we got you some wide receiver weapons. Now you have no reason to fail. Brian Daboll is coach of the year 2 years ago. He got this team to the playoffs. They won a playoff game over the Minnesota Vikings. Like Daniel Jones has a chance to save his career because once he's cut this year, if he fails again, he will get cut and he will be a career backup or in the XFL. If he doesn't, if they give him everything that he needs and he still fails, then it's on him and it's not on the organization. At least you can say the organization actually tried. So I think that's what the Giants need to do this year.
I think they have a receiver. They have Hyatt, but they didn't use him. It was crazy because my friend's a big one of my friends is a big Giants fan, and I think Hyatt had a crazy game, and they just didn't use him anymore. And he was like, "Bro, what the hell? Like what happened to Hyatt?" Like,
I called it, dude.
The Giants don't want him to like succeed, and it's crazy because like I think he was the best receiver on the team, and he was a rookie, and they didn't use him whatsoever. And the only reason why he went off is because that week I think they had like 2 or 3 receivers on the injury report, so he had to play, and he went off. I wouldn't say off, but he had a good.
That was Tommy DeVito or Tyrod Taylor? Because I know it wasn't with Daniel Jones.
It wasn't with Daniel. It was with DeVito. If I'm not mistaken.
So, but to me, then they came back and they just didn't use him again.
To me, Hyatt, man, and I said this. There were 2 wide receivers coming out of that draft, out of Tennessee last year. It was Tillman and Hyatt. And to me, Hyatt was a one-trick pony. And to him, it was just a speed. That's why he was I mean, that game in Tennessee where he scored, what was it, like 4 touchdowns? It was his speed. Like, he has breakaway speed, but it's just his route running isn't there. That's where Tillman had the ups on it, but he was an older receiver and he went to the Browns. I like Tillman better than Hyatt. To me, they're not using Hyatt the way that they should be using it. And I mean, it just goes to me. The past drafts, the Giants have drafted a wide receiver. They drafted Kadarius Toney. They drafted Robinson. They drafted Hyatt. They were great receivers coming out of the draft, but they just weren't able to use them, or they left the team. They were traded away.
I think that Tony has a sour taste because they traded back with the Bears, and now Tony's not even on the team.
Well, Tony would sound like a little wimp, right? Like he was like, "Oh, I'm hurt," and then he got that 1-game suspension that rookie year and everything, and obviously later on he gets traded to the Chiefs, and then he went. Now he's a 2-time champion, so he's gonna brag like, "Oh my God, I'm the best," even though he has no receptions. Yeah, Jalen Hyatt has
it was week 15 against the Giants.
He's averaging 1 catch per game so far. He's got 23 receptions. That's Jalen Hyatt right now, ladies and gentlemen. He has a total of 300 yards, 0 touchdowns. He's the guy who gets you so close to the touchdown marker, but he won't score it himself. That's where Saquon comes in and finishes the job. But not anymore. But the reason I'm saying they had the weakest wide receiver core is because they are still depending on Sterling Shepard. They're still depending on Darius Slayton. Those guys ain't it. That they are years removed from what any peak they had. Like they are not the guys I'm trusting. So you gotta you got Jalen Hyatt. I don't know if I'm not in the rumor mill for the Giants or anything like that. Like I gotta think that the reason he doesn't get many touches or opportunities is maybe because personality issues or anything like that. There has to be a reason why they held him back. Because for all the talent that Jalen Hyatt has, he should not have been that limited. You get what I mean? Wan'Dale Robinson has not panned out yet to what they want, but at the same time, too, I put a lot of that on Daniel Jones' inability. We got to remember on his big, fantastic year that earned him $160 million, he only threw 15 touchdown passes.
It was Saquon, though.
And he ran. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's all he did, and Saquon got him his money. But, again, once you give him, all the shits he needs, he can't complain. Because last year, I said that was one of the teams that was going to fall. The Giants should have traded for Lamar. When Lamar was doing his own thing and stuff like that, they should have tried to go for Lamar. But I think they're one of the teams that was like, well, we don't want Lamar. We want to stick with our guy instead. How did that pan out for you, dumbasses? So, trying to think. Any other free agencies out there that happened that we need to talk about?
I mean, I think that just on that note back, running backs. This year, the running backs, they just play carousel. Eckler to the Washington, Jacobs to the Packers. I mean, we talked about that one. Antonio Gibson to the Patriots. Moss to Cincinnati.
Here's one. Yeah, Joe Mixon's been cut by Cincy. Here's one, and this is the biggest I think we need to talk about with you two, my Bears fans. All the quarterback positions that are available for Justin Fields that he was top to land on for a trade market have basically vanished. Right? He was pegged with Pittsburgh. He was pegged with Atlanta. Partially pegged with Las Vegas. All those spots are arguably filled, and his value has really decreased because before the combine, there was talks. Maybe the Bears can get a second-round pick at best. After the combine, there are people saying they'd be lucky to get a third.
Yep.
Now, at this point, he has really no value to a team unless someone gets hurt in the middle of the season. And we've been texting today. I do not believe the Bears are going to trade back and keep Fields. But y'all are the Bears fans. Y'all tell me how y'all feel.
So let me ask you this, and I just saw this mock draft right now. There's a mock draft that went around where the Bears traded. They drafted Caleb, but then they traded with the Patriots from 9 to 3, and they traded Fields to the Patriots. So it's Fields and the 9th for the 3rd overall pick.
We're not giving you a third overall pick for Fields. No.
No,
So
that's
to
crazy.
me, like
That would be
the,
bad on our part.
I mean, yeah, it would be. To me, it's
Which
just
is what you're hoping for.
I think I mean the Bears played it. I've told you the Bears played it all wrong. You know, like if you wanted to keep Fields, that was, let's say for example, that was your intent all along. You wanted to keep Fields. You should have tried to sell that number one pick for as much money or as much ransom as you could. Should have said, you know what? Yeah, we're trading Fields, whatever. And then flip that number one pick. They play their cards out. You can't trade that number one pick now because you're not going to get the value of it. Because they're like, well, don't trade it. You're going to get stuck with Caleb and you're going to get stuck with Fields if you don't trade it away. So whatever, you can draft Marvin Harrison. Great. Build around Fields. Figure that out. To me, they did wrong by Fields, and they did this whole sour thing. Same thing that they did with Roquan. You know, you're telling this guy, your franchise, whatever, like everything. I know the Roquan situation was different because of the agent, but at the end of the day, you did the same thing. You ended up trading Roquan for whatever. Yes, you made a good value, whatever you got back, and you were able to sign some other guys to your line. But if I was Fields, man, I don't think I would want to play for the Bears, especially how they just bowled up the situation. Yet again, I know the media and everything, just Bears was the center point of it all. I think at best now you keep Fields right now and see if you can get the value later, or you just trade him away for whatever, for pennies. But at the end of the day, it's you draft the best quarterback available. I still don't understand. Like, to me, I know they're saying Caleb is generational talent. Lawrence was generation talent. Burrow's generation talent. And I think out of the ones that I've seen pan out, I mean, Burrow, yes, because he made it. CJ Stroud, great. I don't know if I trust Caleb Williams. I don't know. I for sure don't trust May. But at number one, would you really pick Jaden Daniels though? That to me would be the high one that you could go for. But I don't think you'd take Jaden Daniels at one. And I told you this. At one, I would rather take Caleb or rather take Marvin. And the only way you take Marvin is if you trade back with Washington or you trade back with the Patriots and you let them take May and Caleb. I think you would be giving up too much value just trading Marvin at number one.
Alex?
That's why we have two Bears fans on this pod. We think that, I mean, there's a lot of Bears fans that think different, right, about the situation. I do not think that the value went down for Justin, and here's why. Because Ryan Post did do wrong by Justin Fields, but he went to the media and said, we'd like to get a deal done before free agency to do right by him. But you also got to think about it in a business. Ryan Post played his cards right because he knows he was only getting 4 and 3s for Justin because there was so much like, well, Kirk Cousins could stay or he'll leave, and wherever he lands, now the team that don't have a quarterback are stuck in no man's land, right? Like the Raiders, they didn't land a quarterback in like Kirk Cousins, so now that value goes up, it doesn't go down, and it has never went down in the past. It is kind of fucked up how they're playing Justin, but Ryan Post knows what he's doing. I really don't think they trade Justin, and here's why: because Jalen Johnson was franchise tagged. The very next day, he signs.
2 days.
He was a big advocate. He was a big advocate of keeping Justin. There was like people are saying why is he signing now, and right, like he could wait and get more money, and there has to be some talks behind the scenes, like DJ Moore coming out and saying that we want Justin, Jalen Johnson, we want Justin. and he signs, there's something going behind back doors that nobody knows, and only the team knows, right?
I
And I do think they keep him.
To
I-
me, just a quick thing. Like, I don't know, we
Right.
talked about the quarterbacks, right? And I'm just looking at the teams right now that I could see. The ones that don't have an actual quarterback could create a trade. Browns, if they don't want to keep Deshaun. Broncos. Rams, if they want to get rid of Stafford and they just want to bring someone in new. Saints, Raiders, Seattle, and Tennessee. Because you're not trading with the Patriots and you're not trading with Washington. And you're not trading Fields to the Vikes.
The worst case scenario is that you come out of this draft and you don't get Caleb nor Marvin Harrison. That is the worst case scenario if you don't trade Fields. And that's why I think if anything happens, it's going to be after Pro Day when all these teams send their scouts and get a good feel how these guys are with teammates, because they're essentially running the pro day. Caleb's going to be running his pro day.
So
Drake
far,
Lance going to be running his pro day.
So coming off the combine, everyone that met with Caleb Williams, I know people saw the interviews and they didn't like it. The people outside looking in, they didn't really like it. They didn't like his answers, his tone, or whatever. But everyone that met with him and talked to him, his teammates and all that were at the combine, they all praised him and loved him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's completely opposite of like all the rumor mills and stuff like that, where everyone's like down on him and like he's not, he's gonna bring up too much baggage and all that stuff like that. I mean, honestly, when you come in from college and you've had these parents that try to manage their kids' monies and stuff like that, yeah, not everyone comes in with agents, right? Look at Lamar Jackson. He never came in with an agent. His mom's his agent. You don't think the team thought that she was annoying or stuff like that, or that was annoying that they had to go through them and not third party and stuff like that, like a middleman? No. So I think a lot of this situation, like Alex, I feel like what you're telling me, because of the whole like Jalen Johnson stuff and everything, I think you're like super hopeful that you keep Justin Fields. You build around him some more. You finally get him the team that he's deserves, arguably, because he has not had that team, right? He's had horrible coaching. Lugetzi was bad with his playmaking. Matt Nagy was horrible his rookie year. I feel, Alex, you just want them to like keep him, give him that fucking chance that it just doesn't feel like he's gotten. But I feel like the truth is that yes, Jalen Johnson signed early, but that was also the Chicago Bears trying to save money, because if they wait till free agency hits, they are gonna lose him to bigger money if he doesn't sign the tag. And the tag, he was tagged just to extend to more time for a long-term deal. I get that there's players that want Justin Fields because they believe in him. I know the crowd chants, "We want Fields." But the truth is, and I've been saying this all year long, Ryan Poles' job is on the line. You lose, and we talked about this before the pod, you lose out on getting a quarterback now. I'm not saying it has to be Caleb Williams. You can go Jaden Daniels, whatever you want to do. But you have to get a quarterback, because you cannot go on to the next year or two and then have to decide whether or not you're going to pay Justin Fields and then lose out completely on everything when it comes to a quarterback. If you give Justin Fields his 5th-year option, it's a 25-year deal. If you don't do it and you just sign him to an extension, then you're into a Russell Wilson Denver Broncos situation. And that's what and Brian Poles will get fired for that. And so he has to go with the better option, and that's resetting the clock with a quarterback that he gets to draft, because he didn't draft Justin Fields. He came in after. He loves Justin Fields. He has respect for the kid. And Art, you know how I feel about Justin Fields. I think he's a very talented quarterback, a really high ceiling, and if you give him the right situation, he will thrive. But Ryan Poles' job is on the line. And that's why he is gone. Justin Fields will not be a Chicago Bear moving forward.
I think for me and Alex, like dream-wise, and I've talked to you about this, like I would want Fields to stay in the team. In the sense of you have the number one, right? If you're able to trade back to the 1 or the 2, I mean to the 2 or the 3, you're able to move back. You draft a wide receiver, you get more pieces for the build, right? Because at the end of the day, the Bears don't have any picks. Like they didn't have any picks until the huge ass trade that Poles pulled out. So to me, it's like like if you're thinking longevity, you're like trade for more picks, keep Justin Fields, build around, similar to what the Eagles did, similar to what the Lions are doing. Like you build around a quarterback. You're building those weapons. So then when you can and you want, you can go and get a quarterback if this one doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Yet again, I do see the fact like, okay, you're coming into a fifth year up. Are you going to pick up that fifth year option? Are you going to pay him? So that's where it gets kind of tricky. For me, I would want them to keep Fields. You build more depth on getting some of those younger wide receivers. Man, and I'm pretty sure Alex would agree with this. The Bears suck at picking quarterbacks and they suck at picking wide receivers. Like they're great at picking tight ends. They always get a huge ass ton of tight ends on their roster, but picking wide receivers and picking quarterbacks, it's one of their weaker points. So on that end, I would love for Fields to stay. Now on the note of trading him out, I agree with you. It's murky waters.
It's if they keep Justin, they have to make the playoffs. If they get Caleb, I told you they have to make the playoffs. Here's why. Because if they don't make the playoffs, if they do get Caleb, I understand he's a rookie, but this rookie is coming into a situation where a team has won 7 games and Poles has came in to took over the Bears with nothing, and is crazy that people don't see it though. Poles has hit on pretty much every draft pick that he's been with, right? That he's made in Chicago. So you're building the team. The defense after Eberflus took over was one of the top defenses in the league, and this you look like at the end of the year, yeah, you look pretty bad against the Packers, but you come into this season now, you have to make the playoffs no matter what. And people are gonna say, well, how come that wasn't high expectations whenever Justin was a rookie? Bro, that team was terrible.
They didn't even play
terrible.
Fields, man.
Yeah, that team was like really, really bad.
Caleb
will be coming into a crazy situation, like a way better situation. And if they do get Caleb and they do good, people are gonna also say, see, they made the right pick. Well, you're never really gonna know, because first of all, what Caleb is coming into is 100 times better what Justin came into.
But Alex, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you on that at all. But here's the thing too. There's also this thing where you can be drafted on a team and you never reach your full potential until you find a team that does, right? So for example, not every team would be Lamar Jackson's cup of tea, because not everyone would adapt to his style of play. John Harbaugh did, and that's why he thrives so much over there. Chicago, I still feel, has yet to embrace Justin Fields' style. And that's why he struggles. He's trying to be this passer guy that you remember the game with Lamar versus the Ravens versus the Chiefs in the playoffs, and Lamar would hold on to the ball looking for that deep shot to hit the nail biter pass.
Yep.
That Chicago, for the 2 years that he has started from the get-go, have pressured Fields to be that, right? He's been indecisive. He hangs onto the ball too long. He doesn't see the opening shot right away. He doesn't read the field properly because it's not his style. Luke Getsy broke this kid to the point where he had to go to a press conference after practice or before practice, whatever it was, and he said some things where he was putting down his coaches inadvertently, but he was telling the truth. He needs to go somewhere that will thrive on his style, and Chicago is not it. Caleb Williams is going to come into a team that is prepared for the playoffs. I agree with you. With a DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, hopefully they get a better line, because you only have one real good lineman still. You have a really good, potentially top 10 defense moving forward. but you go with the guy that is you're gonna reset your contract talks because you cannot put yourself in a Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones situation. You cannot. You will get fired. Ryan Poles will get fired if he is stuck to having to give Justin Fields a contract, and it pans out the same as Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones. And if he starts with Caleb, and it's a rookie contract where he's only going to get maybe about what $45 million in his first 4 years or $40 million, whatever it is, as a rookie, you're saving money. You're able to build more around him, and you're doing yourself a better service. You got to remember in the last, I want to say 5 or plus years, however, it can be like 5 or 7. A guy on his rookie contract has taken his team to the Super Bowl.
But that's the thing, though. Caleb's not asking for a rookie contract, though.
Caleb has to deal with a rookie contract. His dad wanted him to break the CBA rules, and they already told him no. So he's going to get a rookie contract no matter what. So, and again, that's all stuff with the dad. That has nothing.
Who would the Bears have to pay, though? That's the way I was looking at it. Like, yes, you would have to pay Justin, but whose contract is coming up around that time that Justin is?
But are you paying Justin Fields $40 million? Right? That's the thing. Daniel Jones has set a precedent. Are you paying Justin Fields $40 million a year to be your guy for the foreseeable future for 4 to 5 years? $40 million a year. Is that the guy you're going to? Or do you save yourself the money and pay $13, $15 million a year with a rookie?
So if just say they keep Justin and they make the playoffs, you wouldn't want them to pay them even if I wouldn't even say 40.
But that's him having to prove it. But then if he doesn't, that's the thing. You're betting on the positives. You also have to see the negatives.
So I guess my question would be this:
what if again they don't?
This year you don't have to pay him. You have to pay him on the 5th year, right?
Fifth year would be a $25 million option.
Okay. So
and then
for 2024, you don't have to pay him anything.
It's like just $1 million or $2 million. Yeah.
Okay. When the 2024 season ends, that's when you have to pick up the 5th year, right?
Exactly.
So technically, you still have one more year that you can keep him on roster.
But then here's the thing too. You go out, you lose the option because next year's draft is a Kenny Pickett level of quarterback draft. It's not good. And the year after that is questionable. We don't know for sure, right? There's not a guarantee you're going to get Archie Manning up there, right? It's questionable. Like, there's things that to worry about. So this is the time when there's still a QB-heavy market in the draft that you take this chance because you're not going to get that chance arguably maybe for 3 years. And by then, you lose all the guys you have now, like a DJ Moore, the Jalen Johnson.
I
understand. The thing.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jose, because you are taking a gamble, and if Justin doesn't plan out, now you're fucked because now you gotta wait 2-3 years to get your quarterback. But Mitch wasn't a top quarterback, but still was the team was still able to make the playoffs and be competitive. I really think the year they had a chance to win the Super Bowl was the year they double doinked it because that defense was.
But Alex, again, that's because the coaching staff was going through Mitch Trubisky's best assets.
Yep.
Those 2 years they went to the playoffs. So the year that made Matt Nagy a coach of the year, they were using his best style of play.
Yep.
Can you arguably tell me really that Chicago has done that for Justin Fields? And is that really going to change with Matt Eberflus?
Nagy didn't do that. I think bringing in the offensive coach from Seattle, and I can't pronounce his name, but to me, I mean, either way, you can go Caleb or you can go Fields. We've seen him be able to work with Geno, and give him one of his best seasons. For me, like I said, best scenario for me is keep Fields, draft Marvin. You still have the number 9 pick. You can trade back or you can trade up. you draft an offensive tackle at number 9. That would be the ideal thing for me personally as a fan. I was like, you know what? Use it on Marvin. Pair up with DJ. The fact is, yes, you have Caleb, you have Drake, you have Jaden, and then you have Penix, and you have McCarthy. I mean, those are 5 great quarterbacks. And I see your point. You're going to lose another CJ Stroud opportunity. And Caleb Williams could be another Bryce Young. I mean, as far as we know, he could be another Bryce Young. We don't know. So we're also taking the gamble on that number 1. However,
you think Michael Penix goes early?
No, no. I think they go late, and that's where I'm getting at. Like, if you draft Marvin Harrison,
what if they get a quarterback in the?
That's what I was going to get at. You keep Fields, and you drive a Penix, or you drive McCarthy, or you draft like another quarterback that's in the later rounds that has had a good career in college. That's what I would do. But yet again, you're passing off on Williams, and at the end of the day, everyone's going to be talking of you passed on generational talent. So you have the key. I mean, you trade back with Washington. I mean, you don't have to get a hold of it. Just trade back with Washington.
They're not offering.
But
and you can't.
Number 2, you take Jaden Daniels.
And you can't be the engager too. Like, here's the thing: you keep saying
you sound desperate.
Yes, exactly. So they know that they don't have to.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, they're not going to. Like, Washington's not offering because they're like, and you got to think Bob Myers, the guy who used to be the Golden State Warriors GM, is now their guy. He's now working with the Washington Commanders, so he knows how to draft, how to rebuild. You have a new coaching staff with Dan Quinn and stuff, so you don't have to rely too much on certain things. But this is where Chicago not trading either the number 1 pick early or Justin Fields early has hurt them.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
So again, you're gonna end up with most likely Caleb Williams. That's at least like 90% of the thing, right? The rest can be Jaden Daniels surprises people. He gets the thing. I know some people are turned off because he didn't do his Caleb Williams didn't do his medical at the combine. That's absolutely fine. I actually okay with that because it's not every 32 teams business. It's maybe the first 3 teams and that's it. Because those are the only ones that are really going for a quarterback to make a game changing for the franchises. So if he only wants to give it to Chicago, Washington, New England, I completely understand. Not everyone passes at the combine, right? C.J. Stroud didn't do it last year. Peyton Manning didn't do it his draft year. So
really care. Yeah.
So the combine stuff is not a big deal for me. If he wants to save his things for the teams that he feels are going to be the most likely to draft him, cool. That's perfectly fine. The rumor mills and the talks about his dad, I'm not going to worry about that because it hasn't affected really his NFL career yet, right? It's annoying. It's Uncle Dennis for me again as far as Kawhi and stuff like that. Yeah. But Uncle Dennis wasn't really an issue for the Spurs until Kawhi had issues with the Spurs medical team and stuff like that. But then that's when Uncle Dennis became a problem. So again, I'm not worried about Caleb's dad so much because that's not an issue until it becomes an issue. This is just like, you know how last year people were trying to say, well, you know what, CJ Stroud is stupid. He failed his fucking S2 test.
No,
and that's how I feel like people are trying to like really bring down Caleb. So that way those bottom teams can probably like somehow miraculously get him.
No, and you made the point of like, you know, a lot of people don't like the way that he handles himself at press conferences. Dude, he's a quarterback that has been trained to do that. He's a quarterback that shows passion. I mean, the fact that he cried in the stands with his mom, hey, what does that matter? He's showing passion. He's competitive. And at the end of the day, we've seen Poles won that kind of guy in the locker room.
So the reason it matters to give context is because he was making fun of somebody crying last year on Twitter. So that's why everyone threw it back in his face. Like, look at you, bitch ass.
But that's what I mean. Like, I think at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, you're right. It's more likely that they're going to draft Caleb. I mean, like I said, the only scenarios that I see is if they trade back with Washington or they trade back with the Patriots. And either way, like, you take Marvin or you take Caleb at 1, Washington still has Jaden Daniels, May, or Caleb. So
how would you guys feel if they don't draft Caleb and they went Marvin Harrison, do you think it's a bad draft? Like, would you rate their draft grade lower?
No, I
Yes.
think for me,
Because what they
you
could have
could.
got, right?
For me, you're getting a generation talent receiver also. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., like he is able to position himself to catch that ball in any way he wants. Like he is a big body receiver. He's able to push out the defender. He breaks off and he leaves the guy. Like he's a good route runner. He's a real technical receiver. So to me, it's like you can't go wrong with drafting Harrison or Caleb at 1. The only thing is, just to Jose's point, like we or the Bears are going to be missing on some top quarterback, and you're gambling on what if Fields pans out and what if he doesn't.
Yeah.
If I'm a GM, I rather gamble on a rookie contract than a guy that's he's about to end, and if he doesn't pan out, I'm gone. That's literally it. I again trade Justin Fields to the Patriots. I'm not giving you a first, second, or third. I'm going to give you maybe a fourth at best. Take the deal, and hopefully, whoever he goes to. I'm just saying as an example, New England, but whoever he goes to. And here's my fear: if you wait too long, he's going to be like Mac Jones and traded to be a backup. And he's not even going to be a team not even a team that is quarterback needy because their guy went down is going to trade for him. Trade for him what you best can now. If you think New England might decide, you know what, we like Marvin Harrison, we rather go with, because there's rumors, right? Let's say I'm saying New England because it's the more I know, the more that I know. If Jaden Daniels isn't available at 3, we're going for best available, and that will be Marvin Harrison Jr. or Joe Alt, whatever's best available there. So then trade with us, maybe our 4th round pick for Justin Fields. Now we have Fields and Brissett, and we can work out something like that, and then you get your best option draft pick now, because you're not at this point. Like the more we talk, he's a 5th round pick, 6th round pick.
Yep,
and that's sad because Justin Fields is so much more
he's
talented.
He's a starting QB anywhere else. It's just they did it wrong.
And Chicago has failed him. That the coaching staff has failed him. That even if he stays in Chicago, Eberflus, and who's your new OC? Who's your new OC right now, guys?
Shane Waldron.
Shane Waldron,
offensive coach from Seattle.
There's no guarantee that they're gonna be able to bring out the best out of him. I would hope so, but you as a GM, Ryan Poles cannot gamble on that. So again. That's why I would just do the trade. Sadly, again, I've been talking about this all year because the possibility was always open. Alex, you know that all year long that I've been saying it, but I still think Justin Fields is good. Art, from the early episodes 3 years ago, I wanted Fields to be drafted by us. Now, obviously, Belichick would have fucked that up too, the way he fucked up Mac Jones. But you know how high I've been on Justin Fields. It's just now he is in a shitty situation that he just needs to go be freed. Free Justin Fields should be the hashtag. And wherever he goes, and maybe he can win the starting job. Free the motherfucker.
Yeah, Minnesota would love to have Justin, but I don't think Ryan Poles does that whatsoever.
If Minnesota offers y'all a sweet enough offer, y'all will do it.
Maybe,
because
no
one else will.
Nah, I don't think it's a maybe. I think it's if Minnesota comes back and says we'll offer you the second that you wanted and a player or an extra pick or whatever the case is, I think Poles takes it.
Because look who they have right now: Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins. Minnesota's got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison with T.J. Hawkinson. Now they need a running game, but I mean, you need a quarterback for those guys. I get Justin Jefferson's about to get a $30 million a year contract. He's about to be the tied or highest paid wide receiver, maybe above Tyreek Hill. But you got to get him a quarterback. You cannot rely on Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins. Maybe they get Joe Flacco. Who knows? Maybe Joe Flacco's cheaper. And that's, again, another part where it just sucks for the Fields.
No, there's a lot of great QBs still open. Like,
Okay,
I mean,
well,
the Raiders.
not great. I won't say great. I won't say great because I want to say
All right,
Fields.
good. Because I mean, the Raiders freaking signed Minshew.
They're
So
affordable. They're affordable. More affordable.
to me, it's like I mean, I hate to say it, you get what you get. You get what you can. Ideally, I would want Fields to stay. I believe in him. He's a great player, but I don't know. Money is different.
It is what it is, fellas. I know it's tough. I know y'all rather see Justin Fields keep that number 1 Chicago Bear uniform, but Chicago's just failed him. Let's just be honest with you. And who knows? Maybe after next year, whether he's traded as a backup, maybe there's a team opportunity out there where he can go win a starting job. He wins it. He changes his career around. He becomes the guy that all the Chicago Bears fans knew he could be. But as of right now, that's just not the case for him. He's more likely going to be traded to be a backup role guy. And really, because of like the hard feelings and stuff like that, there's no way Chicago's going to keep him as a backup. The same way Kenny Pickett has to deal with Russell Wilson now. Like they're just not going to. It's just, it is what it is. But we'll see how it goes. Any other thoughts before we close out for the night?
Nah, if they draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1, hey, I'll be happy if they keep Fields. So,
I mean, I'm pretty sure Alex will be too.
Yeah, man. It's just a wild day one.
It's a wild free agency, man.
It's only day
crazy.
1. We might have a pod tomorrow, just because tomorrow might be crazy too.
And Justin might be on the move tomorrow. Who knows?
I think Justin Fields gets moved this week. I do, because I think Chicago's going to get desperate and make for the best available trade option, which is not the best available trade option y'all could have had in February or late January. So it is what it is, fellas. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. It's a lot of fun to be back. I know we had some viewers on, I think, Twitter and Twitch side more than we had on the YouTube. So, guys, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe. We're going to keep going this week, hopefully more episodes, because it's going to be a busy week. We haven't even been able to talk some NBA stuff. There are some MMA and boxing fights that happened this weekend that I want to discuss. So, guys, Art, Alex,
baseball's back.
Yep.
Alex, I tell you, if you want to do a baseball pod on here, you gotta let me know when you're gonna do it and get the guys that are gonna do it. I'm not gonna talk. I don't watch baseball for shit. I'm not the guy that people want to listen to about that. So, bro, get a crew together, make it happen, bro, and we can get a day for y'all so y'all can really talk some baseball. But guys, for the professor, Alex de la Cruz, for Art, thank you for coming back, bro. It's been a year. We missed you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hopefully you can come on back some more. Guys, like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Puro Pinche Sports. I am Jose Garza. We are Puro Pinche Sports, and we are out. No Dallas talk, thank God.
Oh, shit.